Welcome to Stories with Soul. I am your host, Jamey Ice, musician turned entrepreneur and co-founder of 6th Ave Homes and 6th Ave Storytelling. Over the past 10 years, I have launched multiple successful businesses and have become obsessed with all things entrepreneurship and marketing. I've been on a personal quest to unpack what it takes to make and grow a great brand. One thing that I've discovered is that stories are powerful and that storytelling has the power to set a brand apart. Join me as I dive into the stories of the heavy-hitting leaders, entrepreneurs, artists, and business owners in our community to hear their biggest wins, greatest losses, and their best business secrets. There's a story behind every great brand. Welcome to Stories with Soul. We are brought to you by 6th Avenue Storytelling, an organic marketing company helping small businesses grow by crafting and sharing their stories. When small business thrives, cities and communities prosper. You're obsessed with your business, and we want to make the world obsessed with it too. Stories with Soul is brought to you by the Fort Worth Business Press, your source for news and business information in and around Fort Worth. Sign up for the Business Press's twice daily newsletter or become an insider using the storytelling coupon code STORYTELLING10, all one word, to stay up to date with the people, companies, and issues that matter most to Fort Worth. Head to fortworthbusiness.com to subscribe. I am a huge fan of the Business Press. I've been a subscriber for years. It keeps me up to date with everything that is going on in Fort Worth. Love it. Go subscribe for the newsletter. You won't regret it. Welcome to Stories with Soul. I am your host, Jamey Ice. I'm joined by my co-host, Jimmy Williams. And today we have a very special guest, Stefon Rishel, who is chef, entrepreneur.
Chefpreneur.
Yeah, there we go. That's
yeah.
Business
the
owner.
verbiage on that. Yes.
That's
You're doing a lot of cool things.
Yeah, very cool. I'm very, very blessed to have two business partners that have the same kind of passion and energy I do, Kyle Bryson and Wallace Owens. So we pretty much try not to say no to anything unless it just doesn't make sense.
Which we're going to get into that. I asked him earlier what he's working on. Well, I'm not going to try to summarize it.
I don't sleep a lot.
There was like 20 things. But Wishbone and Flynt,
Yep.
the Amber Room. Yep. You started the Berry Street Ice House.
Yep.
Parker County Ice House. You were the head chef at Max's Wine Dive here in town. He was awarded top chef in Fort Worth.
2015.
Yep. But just you in my mind are I know you had a little bit of time away, but just a Fort Worth institution in the food world.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I attribute everything to the people of Fort Worth because it is the biggest little city in America, literally. I think we're 12th now?
Yeah.
Census?
Yeah.
Maybe 11. But even though I did leave and I went to Houston for a bit, when I came back, everybody had open arms. And they're like, you're home, come back home. Everyone here has a genuine vested interest in your success.
Yeah,
I love about Fort Worth.
And people... I feel like also in the food world, you are a lot of fun.
I mean, what's the point if you're not? If you're not having fun, there's no reason.
There's a lot
for
of people
it.
that are as fun, but I feel like people like every time I see you at an event or party up here talk about, people love you because one, like crazy kind, treat people right, and just I feel like you are bringing a lot of fun and energy and kind of a new spirit to the world of food.
Yeah, I think that everybody thought Fort Worth was meat and potatoes for the longest time. It was like Dallas is 10 years ahead of us and Austin is 10 years ahead of them. I don't think that's true anymore. There's so much more parity in it why does it have to be that way? Because they said it was? Like, that doesn't make any sense. I was like, if it tastes good, eat it. Like, put it together and go from there. So we like to be loud and have fun and
loud.
I don't get, yeah. This is not quiet.
Yeah.
But it's like, don't stick me in a corner and just be like, here's your risotto. How can I say? No, I'm like, I'm gonna be up front. I'm gonna be like, this is what you get.
Were you like that as a kid? Have you always been like?
No, not really.
Gregarious?
It didn't really come out that way until my wife and I started dating. I mean, I take it back. I was a bartender for a long time before I was ever a chef.
Okay.
So I had to create this like alter ego kind of thing.
Okay.
Now it's just kind of morphed into my regular ego. But my wife really kind of cultivated that. She's like, this is who you are. You need to really embrace it.
She gave you like the safety net and the freedom to.
She's like, this is who you are. You should embrace it and enjoy it and stop this whole like introverted extrovert mentality. And it's like, this is who you are. Have fun with it. Mm-hmm. And so my kids are like me times 10, which is interesting. My 5-year-old daughter is like the hospitality director.
Yeah.
My wife got her chef coat for opening Wishbone. And I'm like, where did Bryn go? And I look over, she's like talking to tables. She's like, everything good? Everything good? Do you need anything? I'm like, you're 4.
But she grew up around it.
100%. Yeah, in the business. I mean, she'll come in and just demolish a plate of mussels.
Oh,
and
wow.
everybody's like, is that kid eating mussels? I'm like, yeah, like chicken tenders.
That's like my dream for my kids.
It's awesome.
It's
She's not. There's not much she doesn't like, but she also keeps me in check. Like I'll do stuff in the house, and I'm like, all right, what do you think? And she's like, this just
Needs more salt, Dad.
This isn't very good.
That's fantastic.
She's like, you have any pizza? And I was like, oh,
failure as a dad.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And you're like, no more caviar for you. Like,
Yeah.
that mentality, right?
So I want to go back to the beginning because one of the things is I was just quick doing a little bit of research, which I didn't know. I've known we've known each other for a little while, but you are totally self-taught.
Yes, I went to culinary school for about 2.5 weeks. I grew up in the business. My dad ran and owned restaurants when I was a kid.
Oh, really?
So I always grew up in the kitchen doing something.
And where'd you grow up?
I grew up White Settlement.
Okay,
Went to Brewer.
Okay.
I moved here when I was 6 from Michigan, so I'm converted. I'm Fort Worth through and through.
Okay.
There we go.
So your dad had a restaurant here.
Yeah, just a couple here. He worked a lot of kind of like director of ops for some fast food chains. He was the guy that went in and fixed stuff.
Okay.
It's like, this isn't working. I'll go in and change it. And so I was always on the side of him, like in the kitchen doing something. So by the time I went to culinary school, it's like this is how you chop an onion. I'm like, I give you $50,000. Like, when do we start cooking? And they're like, oh, that's next semester. I was like, yeah, I'll just go get paid to learn. And just immerse myself in the restaurant scene. I was a bartender for a long time, and then
Where'd you bartend at?
oh man, where didn't I bartend at? I've worked Fort Worth side. It's like I cut my teeth with restaurant bartending with Papa's group. Papa's restaurant. That's where I really started cooking. But before that was like,
And their training is hardcore. Isn't Papa's like the most
militant,
hardcore? Yeah.
militant. It's kind of like being a teenager at home where my parents were strict, and then you find yourself implementing the same policies when you're an adult.
Yeah.
But I did a lot of speed bar, Uptown Dallas, Addison Dallas, Duke's Roadhouse. That's pretty much where I found my personal self, I guess.
Okay.
So my wife and I met at Papacitos on Northwest Highway.
Okay.
It's fun times.
And when were you like, I want to be in the kitchen?
That's probably, what is this? Probably 08.
Okay.
And I was really just like, all right.
And you were like, I'm going to pay the money and go to school for it.
Yeah, and literally 2 weeks later, I was like, this is dumb. It just wasn't, I take that back. It wasn't just dumb. It didn't make sense to me. Culinary school is good for a lot of people because it's structure, it's technical, it's all these things. It just wasn't for me. I'm not a school kid.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm more applicant, like vocational. That's how I learn. I
want to get your hands dirty.
Get my hands dirty, and that's how I learn things, not on paper.
So how do you get started as a chef, right? Like, I'm assuming this is like, in people's minds, they're young, they're go to college and they graduate in business, and so they go get a business job. If you're in culinary school, you're just magically going to be a chef somewhere. So if you don't have school,
That's the misconception.
exactly, right?
You don't get out of culinary school and become a chef.
Yeah.
You become a dishwasher.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you is, does
a
it
vocation.
matter either way? Don't you have to start at the bottom anyways?
Yeah, 100%. Which does. So I'm like, okay. So now it's like you get these kids that come in and they're like, oh well, I just need to know costing and I can be an exec. I'm like, you need to get yelled at for 3 years.
Okay.
Like you need to just understand.
That's our first lesson there.
Yeah, it is. It's like it's just one of those things. Like there's so much more to the business than just creation.
Yeah.
Like you need to know, all right, if you cut this much off the end of a cucumber versus this much, like how much that costs, like what the waste is on that. And everybody wants a raise, but nobody wants to know how to get it. So it's labor, sales, waste of product, cost of goods. All these things have to come together.
That's the business entrepreneur. Like my assumption is I'm making assumptions is that you didn't learn the business side of it until much later, or you.
I'm constantly learning. I'm just one of those people who like to pay attention. So
is that why you got promoted fast? Because you were like cooking stuff, and he's also counting?
I understand the business side of it because
have you always cared about business?
I've always wanted to own my own restaurant.
Okay,
one facet or another, as front of the house or back of the house, but like. Part of that is working through corporate restaurants, Don Pablo's, Papacitos, whatever that looks like, going to open stores as a corporate trainer. You see the good, the bad, and the oh my God.
And you were a corporate trainer?
Mm-hmm. I've done all that. And so it's like.
So bartending.
I want to know everything.
The big picture.
Right.
So walk me through the timeline. So you were bartending.
Yeah, so I started as a server with Don Pablo's when I was like 19.
Okay.
And I became a bartender, and I became a bar coordinator is what they called it. And you would go to stores and help them open a store. Spend a month, come back, work in your own store for 2 months, go open another one. But you'd see these different people, the way they operate, and you're like, that's not going to work. But then you see other people, and you're like, oh, man, I've never seen it done that way. And so that registers with you. So later on, as we're opening things on our own, I'm like, hey, that's not going to work. And they're like, why? I was like, because I've seen it, and it doesn't work.
And you're saying that as like a 20-year-old kid?
Yeah.
And with people listening to you?
No, absolutely not. They're like, what do you know?
Yeah.
Like,
Wait, did you get that from your dad? Like, or did you just
yeah, I mean, I've just
intuitively?
always paid attention. And like one of the biggest lessons my dad taught me is about vendors, right? So it's like you got all these people that come in trying to sell you something, sell you something, sell you something. But the people you work with, this business is about handshakes and smiles, not emails and phone calls. Because you don't know at 5:30 on a Friday and something doesn't show up and you call that person and you need their help. If you're an a-hole to them on the daily, they're not going to answer their phone. So it kind of,
Oh man, hold on. That was just that line. This business is about handshakes and smiles.
yeah, not emails and phone calls.
That's a great line.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like
Our first lesson.
Yeah.
Of the day.
First lesson.
lesson number 2. So we're at church.
Don't be an
yesterday.
a-hole.
We're at church yesterday. It's like, don't find your purpose, find your people.
Explain that. Unpack that for me.
So like, you find your people that are here together, your tribe, whatever that looks like, that are all going to lift each other up, right? And as you do that, you'll find your purpose together, because you can't find your purpose by yourself.
And that kind of ties into what you're talking about with your wife. Your
Right,
wife really,
100%. Really, I mean, I say this all the time. I was like, the quintessential line behind every strong businessman is a stronger woman, driving you or kicking you in the butt or whatever that looks like. My wife is a great God-fearing woman that just pushes and pushes and pushes. Even when I don't think I need to be pushed, she's still pushing.
Interesting. How long have you been married?
We've been married, it'll be 8 years on the 3rd of January.
Okay. And how long have you been together?
15.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she won't let me forget that either.
Yeah, yeah.
He drug his feet as long as possible.
And so do you feel like that's sort of like the secret to y'all's sauce, so to speak?
Yeah,
Is that
100%. 100%. She's awesome.
A driver.
Yeah,
Like,
100%.
Well, yeah, because you hear people in like the culinary world or as a chef, and they're like, I mean, it's just working all of those hours and stuff. Like, do you feel like that helped you guys since y'all met in that industry, same industry?
She understands it a lot more
Yeah.
than someone that's not in the business and doesn't understand the demands.
Yeah.
I mean, she gets it. Like opening a restaurant, she's like, I'm not going to see you for 90 days, and
Yeah.
it is what it is. If I want to see you, I need to come to work.
that's crazy.
But
right?
it is crazy,
Yeah.
but it's awesome at the same time.
Yeah.
Because I do have a partner that's understanding and gets it. Where if I'm like, I'm not gonna lie to you, I slept in a restaurant probably 3 nights a week at Wishbone when
Wow.
it opened, because it's like,
You have to swing so hard in.
yeah, because like I get off at 1, I have to be back at 7. It's a 40-minute commute home each way. By the time I actually get to sleep, I get like 2 hours and I'm back at work. So
And I think that's we haven't even gotten to the story part, but this
Yeah.
is so fascinating.
Right.
But I think that's something that I think one, that's probably true for starting restaurants, but that's also true for starting businesses in general.
100%. If you're not 100% committed, you're not.
And it's never easy. It's never you. It's always,
easy, you're
always,
doing it
always
wrong.
It is.
Yeah.
100%.
It gets there, but I always tell people there's no such thing as balance.
No.
You're swinging in really hard here, and then eventually you might get to swing really hard out. But
Right.
but to start something,
Yeah.
I mean it's like
a
having a
whip.
baby.
Yeah, absolutely. It's and then during opening Wishbone, we were having a baby.
So, yeah, oh
That's
my
never a good
gosh, man.
combination.
Yeah, it was fun.
Oh, man.
It was fun.
What was the timing of that?
So we opened. Chefs get time off in January. That's when we get time off. So it seems like every time we take a wine trip, we have a baby. Okay. So,
Yeah,
no
yeah.
more wine trips. But and we actually, we tried to have Liam. So we were really trying to have a boy. Went to Fredericksburg. Had a great trip. But opened Wishbone when we got back. So January 2020. And he was born, or take it back. We went in January 19, went to Fredericksburg, got pregnant. We had him September 20th, and then we opened Wishbone January 2020.
Oh, my
Wow.
gosh.
That's
61 days before the pandemic.
Oh, my
Oh, I
gosh.
forgot about that. We're skipping over a lot of your history, which I'm still curious about.
Yeah.
Let's
We can go back to history. I mean, it's fine. Let's do that first.
I'm still curious the transition from doing that. I own a restaurant. I'm starting a restaurant. There's a lot of chefs out there, but there's very few that get to the stage of one, opening a restaurant, and then two, having a successful restaurant, and then opening more restaurants.
Correct.
So I'm curious how you made the jump from I'm dropping out of culinary school saying
I was a line cook at Papacitos.
Okay.
Wife and I started dating. We did a lot of dinner parties, and so it was always like, I'm not coming unless Stefon's cooking. I was like, all right, well, that's kind of cool.
And were you just making stuff up?
Yeah, just kind of whatever. And Amber Schiffner, who my wife worked with, good friend of ours, it was her 30th birthday, and I was like, I'm going hard in the paint. I'm going to do this like 13-course tasting dinner for her birthday, like 20 people. Mm-hmm. Did it out of my 2-bedroom townhome.
Wow.
Killed it.
How do you keep stuff like warm and?
Oh, there was everywhere.
Yeah.
Killed it. It was a great dinner. We had a lot of fun, and that's when Bree was like, "Hey, you should really look at this."
Bree's your wife.
Yeah, this is something you should look at doing full on professionally. And then brackets in the Hotel Palomar, Mockingbird 75.
I remember Hotel Palomar.
Yeah, and so the sports bar, massive sports bar.
Yeah.
She was looking for someone to come in and consult and fix what was going on. I was working at the Papacitos in Richardson at the time. I went down, talked to her. She's like, "You want the job?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll consult for you." She's like, "No, I need a chef." So I took a very unorthodox route to exec. I didn't go through all the channels. Mm-hmm. Anybody that tells you
had the
ready,
relationship. This goes back to your first lesson.
Yeah.
It's the people, your tribe.
100%. Anybody that tells you they're ready to be an exec for their first exec spot is lying to you. I tell you, I was like, yeah, I was ready. No.
Why weren't you ready? Why aren't people ready?
What did they not
The
know?
grand scheme of it all, just everything that you don't think about going into that type of role. My first weekend at brackets was Mavs Portland 2011 playoffs. And she was going through a lawsuit, and so I had to e-verify the entire team, and I lost 12 of 15 cooks because they were illegal.
Whoa.
Oh, wow.
So 25,000 square foot restaurant, game one, Mavs playoffs, me, 2 cooks, and a pizza guy.
Oh my God.
gosh.
Exactly. And it's like 15, about an hour before tip off, 0 people in the building. I'm like, we might get through this. Okay. Half hour? Nope. Packed. 300 people. And my sous chef is like, what do we do? I was like, just cook everything.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out later. And we made it through, and I was like, nobody's leaving. We're going to fight through it to the end. There's an end to this. It's not like, oh, it's never going to stop. Worst shift of my career to date.
Really?
Yeah.
And that was your first.
And
First exec weekend.
was it because you just didn't know it? Like if you would redo it now, you would have prepared
Well, if
for
I
it
would have
better.
had 10 more cooks, it'd been a different story too. I was extremely overwhelmed.
But it's that tension too that makes you.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love being in the thick of it.
Yeah.
Because A, shift goes by like that. Mm-hmm. B, it's just, I like the energy. I like the drama. I like all of that. I tried to work IT sales for a short period of time in a box, and I was like, I made a lot of money, but I hated life.
Yeah.
It was just awful. I'm like, this is just boring. I don't talk to anybody. Restaurants are organic, and they change every day. It's different all the time. So went from there. I got recruited out by Sisu Uptown Resort at Maple and McKinney. Brand new rebuild. Got to write my first menu. Got to do all of that.
Were you prepared? Were you good at that?
Much more prepared.
Okay.
From everything I went through at Brackets. We were a supper club. Saltwater pool in the back. We had like Oak and Fold and Diplo. All those guys spun in the backyard.
Wow, that's
Super fun, right?
That's cool.
Like Erica Badu was our Tuesday night like resident. Like she'd come in and spin.
Wow.
Super nice lady.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
That's where I really started to get to meet a lot of musicians.
Yeah, because you have done a lot with a lot of musicians. too.
100%. And we'll get in. I'm part of the Jenkins crew, so we'll get into that too. But like, I was there for 2 years. They decided to go a different route. They wanted to get rid of the supper club and go more like poolside, day club, food trucks, and it was just a difference of direction.
Yeah.
I was like, cool. Ed Hall, who's one of my best friends, runs Lone Star Foods out of Austin, who I do a lot of business with. He's like, hey, they're opening a Max's Wine Dive in Dallas, and they want to open one in Fort Worth. Are you interested in that spot? I know the guy that you need to talk to. I did a couple tastings with them, landed that job. They're like, you're perfect. You're from Fort Worth. You know the people. And that's really where my career exploded. And I give that to two different reasons. One, the people of Fort Worth. And B, I got married the first year I was at Max's. And instead of, my in-laws were like, you can do two things. You can go 90 days of marriage counseling. I was like, yeah. Or you can go on Quest. And I don't know if what Quest is. Fellowship of the Sword, based out of White Settlement at the time. Richard Henderson, very good friend. It's a men's retreat. 6 days, you're out in the middle of nowhere, 22 guys in your Bible.
Wow.
There's no electronics, no nothing. It's just you and the Word for 6 days. I got saved on that trip.
So was
Changed my life.
faith a part of your life
100%.
before?
A little bit. I had probably a year when I was like 13, 14, where I lost like 8 really close family members. And I was like, this is stupid. I was like, there can't be a God if this happens, right? There's
Sure.
not really understanding the purpose of why he took those people for a reason. So I was very much against church at that point. And so my wife really kind of brought me back into
So if
it.
you're getting, so that your in-laws say, I want you to go on this retreat.
I was very much a believer in God.
Okay.
I was not a believer in church at that time.
That makes sense.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I always I was like, church is just business. Like, I didn't understand like why the first 5 minutes I'm in the door, they're asking me for money.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, if I want to give you money, I'll give you money.
Yeah.
But this is about me being here in a place of solace and all of that, right? And so my wife chipped away at it and finally got me. I'm like, all right, I'll do it. I got on the trip thinking I was going to have all this time on this 5-hour bus ride to do all my pre-work. That I didn't do anything before I got on the bus. First thing out of the guy's mouth was like, if you decided you're going to wait to do all this on the way, you are sorely mistaken. I was like, oh.
We interrupt this podcast to bring you an advertisement.
Because everybody loves advertisements, and
But you have to do them. All podcasts have them.
yeah, you do. They're pain. They're soul sucking for me sometimes.
But this podcast is brought to you by 6th Avenue Storytelling, an organic marketing company that helps businesses grow by crafting and sharing their stories. It's important stuff.
That was borderline too cheesy, but I'm in on it.
But seriously.
But seriously.
We've started a company
Serious FaceTime.
to help businesses grow. And we're doing some killer stuff. And if you're looking for a solution to help grow your business, if you're an entrepreneur, an artist looking to build a brand,
That's right.
we would love to help you.
You are obsessed with your business, and we want to make the world obsessed with it too.
So head over to 6thAvenueStorytelling.com to schedule a meetup. I would love to talk to you and see if we can help.
That's right. We're going to help you.
Yeah, we're going to help you. And that concludes this advertisement. Jimmy?
Take it away, podcast.
But I mean, I've met lifelong brothers on that trip. That talked to one yesterday who's actually opening a restaurant in Louisiana. He's like, I need some help. I was like, awesome. But yeah, I got saved on that trip.
So just
saved my life.
So just personal encounter with
100%
with God on that trip.
Absolutely.
And that changed sort of your course, is sort of what you were saying. Like,
Yeah, I think it changed the way I approach things. Mm-hmm. And
how so?
humility for one. I had a lot of ego going into that, and I still did after I got off the bus and I got home.
Yeah, it doesn't like instant.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's not. So Max's, one Top Chef, go through all of that, won all the awards we could win here locally.
And to kind of ground you too, that was sort of like your grounding.
Yeah, a little bit. And then my director of ops went to Houston with Landmark Hospitality. Was like, they need a guy to redo this restaurant inside Saks at the Galleria. I was like, oh, that sounds like a great idea. I'm going to go change the world in Houston. Little fish, big pond, make my mark. Won every award I was supposed to win. I won Best New Chef, second Best New Restaurant, all these things. My clientele hated me.
Why?
I didn't listen to them. I cooked my food. I didn't cook what they wanted to buy.
Yeah, you're like, I want to do my own thing.
Right. And so it's like that trip, 9 months, 14 days, that's where I realized it's not about me. It's about cooking for people and serving people and really embracing my servant's heart and making that work. Because
So you were wrong. You felt like your attitude was like,
100%.
really?
And you feel like that was like a business like decision or like lesson, or is this like a life lesson?
all,
Like
all around, because my wife was pregnant with our daughter. I was in Houston by myself. She stayed here because her mom was here. It was just not a good situation.
yeah.
It was very depressing. All I did was work.
Yeah.
I was 5 minutes from the restaurant, so it was just constant. All I did was work, and I was like, "This is awful." I hated it. I didn't like myself. I didn't like anything. So 4 days before Bryn was due to be born, I was like, "I'm coming home."
Yeah.
I was like, "This is not where I'm supposed to be."
Was that kind of scary, giving up a good gig?
No, I was relieved actually.
Okay.
It was one of those like the last 2 weeks I was there, I was like, "This is not where I'm supposed to be." So I talked with a couple of my mentors, and I was like, he's like, "Look, if you're not where you're supposed to be, then don't be there.
Yeah.
Do what you got to do." So packed up my stuff and came home. I took 30 days sabbatical and really help with the baby, and I learned how to make oatmeal really, really well.
Oh yeah.
But it was awesome to be there with my daughter and not like, okay, gotta go back to work, bye.
Yeah.
Like getting to enjoy that first 30 days was wicked awesome.
Yeah.
And so
How old's your daughter now?
she'll be 5 October 13th.
Oh, is she pre-K, kindergarten?
Yeah, pre-K, Pantego Christian, man.
That's
And she loves it. She just walks around the house reciting scripture. It's fantastic.
Wow.
It's super cool.
I like how you called the Houston experience a trip. It's like you never really truly left, you know?
Yeah, it is. It's weird. Like my heart is here.
Yeah.
And I realized that when I went, because it never went to Houston.
That's right.
And you had all this momentum happening. I felt
Oh yeah,
in
it was
Fort Worth.
a stupid decision.
And then you kind of disappeared.
Yeah. I went north of the loop. I was like, because that's the whole thing. It's like, my wife was executive director of Miracle League Fort Worth when I left, and Kerry Moon, city councilman, was a big part of the Fort Worth and Arlington setup there because he had Arlington Music Hall, and he was like, he tried to recruit me for like a year and a half when I was at Max's. He's like, "I got the steakhouse you'd be great for, blah, 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 blah." I was like, it's Keller. You know, I moved my junior year to senior year and graduated from Keller. I was like, right, I'm not going to Keller. It's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
traffic's awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Finally talked me into it when I came home from Houston. And I was like, I'm going to get all these people to come north and come to dinner. Fort Worth people are not going north at 820.
Yeah.
No.
They're like,
Yeah.
it takes an hour. To go
Yeah.
like
It
12
might be
miles.
like a date night or anniversary or something like
Something
that. But
on a
that's it.
Sunday
Yeah.
when there's no traffic.
Yeah, that's right.
But
That's right.
it. And so I was there for 2 years. I mean, we built the business and grew the business. It went from there. But I was like, I need to open my own place.
And you said you felt like you've wanted to do that for a long time.
Right. And so Kyle Bryson, who also owns my business partners now, reached out to me via Facebook message and was like, "Hey, I've been following you on Instagram and Facebook, see what you're doing. Love your food. Everybody I talk to talks very highly of you. Would you be interested in sitting down and talking about possibly opening something?" And I was like, "Oh man!" I was like,
This is it.
And had those guys opened restaurants before?
They had, Kyle had a couple burger joints and they have a couple bars on top of it. And then he'd actually opened Chill in Louisville.
Okay.
Or in Grapevine, I'm sorry. The original. And so he's like, "Would you be interested in sitting down?" Went to the office, talked it out, prayed in the office, which I thought was super cool. And I was like, all right, we had the same mindset, same goal, same passion. Let's put something on paper and see what we can get going. That's probably another 15 months. We tried to open something in downtown Arlington, couldn't make the numbers work. Finally found the space where Wishbone is currently and got that in motion. And that was
Had
the
you
baby.
already had the concept
Yeah.
in place?
I had the name and everything. I really wanted to do something super boutique, less than 50 seats, no walk-in, no freezer, which is people think you're
How
mad.
do you do that?
It's a lot of work. You have to have good.
What?
Yeah.
You get stuff delivered every single day?
Every day. I have one 3-door refrigerator.
Wait,
in
and
that
so
restaurant.
hold on. To de-jargon what that means.
Yeah.
I have a little bit of restaurant experience.
Yeah.
Not
Right.
But like your walk-in is like a giant
refrigerator. Yeah. So that you don't have to chase your tail all day going to get groceries or having groceries delivered. You can prep large quantities and be prepared and
So
go through.
everything is fresh.
Everything fresh every day.
And does anybody else do that? I've
there's
never
a couple small places that do it, but
I've never heard of a restaurant not having a walk-in or a freezer.
yeah, it's a lot of fun.
See, that's crazy. Like, is it
people
legit?
people are like, are you mad?
Yeah, is it logistically?
Are
Is
you
it
seriously
like
mad?
like logistically? Like
That seems like logistically that's a
Nightmare.
It's a nightmare. Is it?
100%.
Oh, okay. Okay. So you're
But this
in
is
for the
whole deal.
torture.
So that was part of your
but this
concept.
is right. The whole deal is like, why do something the same as everybody else?
Yeah, why have a refrigerator?
And
Yeah. Who cares?
Well,
Freezer.
part of my deal
I
is
don't want
like
to keep
so
food overnight.
This is what I love about Fort Worth too. Is like the group of chefs is we're always trying to push
sell
the
it all out
culinary
every day.
envelope, right?
Yeah, sorry, I'm interrupting.
No, you're fine. Always trying to push the culinary envelope here.
Yeah.
And I figured, well, let's go hard in the paint and let's do something cool that
Put your
nobody else
money
is
where
doing.
your mouth is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was like, we're gonna do everything fresh. And my business partner was like, no. I was like, yeah, look, it's like if you take a 10-foot by 8-foot walk-in, that's 4 tops.
Yeah. Okay.
And he's like, okay. I go 4 tops a day, turn them 3 times. I'm like, you're losing $160,000 a year.
Well, that number speaks to him.
And he's like, cool, no walk-in. Let's do this. And so you start thinking about it and you're like, we want to be known as the best. We wanted to have the best restaurant in Fort Worth. That was always our goal. And the only way to do that is to put yourself in a position.
Sorry, that's a big ambition. Like you went into saying, I want to have the best restaurant. I love that.
I think everybody wants. I think everybody wants it,
But people aren't going to say it.
or follow through with it.
Yeah, that's true. People won't say it or follow through with it.
Right. Because if you think about it, you got all these chefs like myself, Marcus Pasley, John Bonnell, Twan Pham, Ben Merritt, Kevin Martinez, Victor over at La Onda, Blaine at Grace, Derek at Capitol. Like we're all trying to make Fort Worth better.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like, how do we do that? And 10 years ago, that South Side area where we're in now, you didn't go down there.
No.
We were all working for other people, Sarah, Sean, all of us down there. And now we all have our own spots driving the culinary force of Fort Worth. And so I think we're in a great spot right now in Fort Worth where the culinary scene is just ridiculously good.
It's cool. It's
Absolutely.
And there's a good community. There's really good people. You just rattled off like just it's fantastic.
Just off the top of my head. And I know I'm missing
Fantastic group
people.
of people.
Please do not hold it against me if I didn't call your name out.
But you said, I have a restaurant. I'm going to do a restaurant. These guys approached you. You said, yes, we're going to do this smaller thing. No, everything's fresh, no walk-in. And I want to make the best restaurant in Fort Worth.
Right.
And you said you had the name?
Yeah.
What's the name?
Wishbone and Flynt. So the Wishbone chair, which we have around the dining room, or the chef's table, designed in 1947 by a Danish designer, took his inspiration from the Ming Dynasty and the Vikings. First 2 cultures technically to dine communally. Flint makes fire, fire makes food. We put a Y in it to make it look pretty.
Yeah.
So it looks just really cool. And then get this. So
Fire makes food.
So I've had this name for probably 4 years maybe.
Okay.
And one of my investors is Garrett Flint, F-L-Y-N-T.
No, that's
there you go.
He came in 2 years later.
wow.
So it was very fortuitous, very kind of cool little story that kind of resonates through the restaurant.
So you've been dreaming about it for a while.
I've been dreaming for a long time. This is the baby.
But doesn't every like chef that's working their way up don't like, you know, if you get to that executive level, it's like
That's the only place you can go after that.
I mean,
unless
like
you go into ops.
But I feel like making it first of all, making it to an executive chef is years, you know, and then to get to that restaurant space, I feel like that transition is kind of like a huge peak in your career.
Yeah, I think.
And most people don't make it, right?
100%.
Most
They
they
do
close
and
in the
they
first
fail.
100 days or so.
Yeah.
I mean, we are beyond the point of blessed to have opened 61 days before a lockdown and come out of it okay.
And you were like rocking and rolling.
Yeah,
and
we
then-
were packed.
And then
Packed.
COVID
We won Best New Restaurant in 2020.
You did it. It was the best.
Yeah, it was awesome. We had so much fun.
And I mean, it's special.
I like to think so. I think that Leslie Marshall, our designer, did a phenomenal job in the vision of what I wanted and where we were going, even though she wouldn't give me a storyline. And I'm like, I need to see where it's at. She's like, just trust the process. It's like, I have a hard time trusting the process. So I was like, I need to see it. But what she did with the Amber Room is phenomenal.
And the Amber Room is your speakeasy.
Speakeasy, yeah. So we're, it's kind of like Victorian London meets Morocco.
That's a good.
And we didn't do anything in that room other than dress it and build the bar. It was like we walked in, we're like, oh yeah, this is where we're supposed to be. Total God thing.
Wow.
So COVID hits.
Yeah.
You're rocking and rolling. Win this award. People are coming. It's like, every time I went, it was like you had to make a reservation, which is a new thing for Fort Worth.
It is.
Like people aren't used to making
all good
reservations.
restaurants.
People
you
don't
have
like
to reserve
change.
it.
People do not like change.
Yeah.
And they don't like being told no.
And if you want to go to Wishbone, you have to have a reservation.
Yeah.
There's no
Pretty much, yeah. We get people like, I need 25 on Friday. I was like, that's a buyout. And they're like, what? I was like, I can't. No, I can't do it. And they're like, they hate no. Ooh, people do not like being told no.
Not in Fort Worth, man. You're not used to it.
No.
Yeah.
But we pivoted very well. I mean, John really kind of led the charge of how to
Bonnell.
pivot.
You talking about John
Yeah,
Bonnell?
Bonnell. Curbside and family style meals. And it's like, it was kind of perfect because the whole thing with Wishbone was about breaking bread and fellowship over food and get back to having dinner around the table, right?
Okay.
The pandemic really instigated that movement at your home.
At home. Yeah.
And so we're like, comfort food, let's do some really badass comfort food, family style meals, make it affordable. And it just took off like wildfire. And then once we were able to
So
open
you were
back
selling a lot of to-go
up, oh yeah, like
stuff?
chicken piccata, meatloaf.
Did you change your
Oh yeah, 100%.
to more simple family style? Can you were you like freaking out at all? I mean, you just did like we pivoted fast.
Well, I mean, you spent all of your. I mean, like you just decked out this whole restaurant bar.
It was really one of those like I didn't really have an option.
This is your shot. You're taking your shot.
Yeah, I was like, we're either gonna blaze a glory or it's gonna work and it's gonna be
what
awesome.
was going through your head when
I was like, I have a 2-year-old at home. I'm like freaking out. I'm like, all right, so I'm responsible for 62 employees that I just furloughed.
that's hard.
100%. Because like these,
so
like
hard.
it goes back to, it's a people business, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, all right, so this is what we decided on was like, all right, we kept all of our salary managers on staff, went all curbside to go, alcohol to go, whatever that looked like. Every single penny of gratuity that we raised, we really pushed that on social too about like, it all goes into a fund for our hourly employees. Salary managers aren't keeping any of this money. It gets dispersed twice a month. They get a check, boom. And so we had great regulars that come in, like they'd buy two $40 meals and tip $300.
Wow, that's cool.
Super cool. And so like we lost one staff member coming back
No way.
because they moved.
Crazy.
That's the only reason we lost them.
Really?
And so I still have first day people that work there and love it. And so it really just kind of, you have to be a good boss and you have to take care of your people. We're just stewards.
But it's also expensive to do that. I mean, it's
it's 100%.
It's not like
Dude, yeah. What kind of debt? Like, I mean, like, are you allowed to talk numbers? Are we allowed to talk numbers on a
numbers,
podcast?
it's
Like, a typical restaurant, you throw in that you're 3 months in, or however many months in, right? Well, 3 or 4 months into the pandemic hits, and then you're the owner, so you got to personally guarantee it. When we buy houses, like, well, you're signing your life away.
Exactly.
We got $1 million worth of debt. Well, if this goes under,
So
like,
if
where are
think
you
about
at?
in relation, Wishbone and Flynt, I think I want to say it's like 1.2 total.
Yeah.
I mean, you start getting into stuff like Parker County is 2.1.
wow.
Trey Mowgli's up there about 2.5. Yeah, it gets
So,
scary.
but that's scary when that stuff happens.
But you got to have faith.
That's right. And you got to go for
I
it.
have faith in my team. I have faith in my people. I have faith in my business partners that we're making the right decisions and progressing at the right way and not. We're doing our diligence on what we want to open, where we want to open, and how we open it. And so we have this conversation all the time in partner meetings. It's like, oh, I got this space. We should put this here. I go, don't think about it that way. We need to walk the space, listen to it, look at what's around. Because the other thing is, like, especially in Southside, there's no reason for me to open a biscuit place in Southside.
Yeah.
Why would I put Sarah out of business on purpose? It doesn't make sense. So why don't we open something that's complementary to the area to drive more foot traffic so we all progress and make more money?
Mm-hmm.
And so if you think about like Sean at Southside Cellars, awesome craft beer bar. We give Tober a lot of hell because I'm like, oh, great, you can open a whiskey bar across from my speakeasy? Thanks, dude. But he fits really well. It's like he's lived there forever. Super nice guy. You got Bearded Lady, does the same thing as Sean for the most part, but has food. So we all cohabitate really well. You got teenies that just came in with Sarah Castillo, which I say just came in. She was the first person to sign a lease in that area. But she had just building issues. Now they've got this phenomenal concept down there, her and Glenn and Christian. And then you got Funky Picnic up at the top with the brewery. You got Macy with Hop across the street. Megan's opening the bottle shop right there where Frank Kent used to be. You got the 411. You got Black Cat back behind us. There's so many options.
Camaraderie, community, and it's all different.
100%. And so the whole goal with Trey Mowgli, with the Italian concept we're opening, family style.
Wait, hold on. So to clarify, you're opening. This is one of your new things.
New spot next door to Wishbone.
Stefan's always jumping to the next.
Sorry,
you can't. I feel like
I'm very squirrel.
I can't have a conversation with you where you're talking about like here's the next.
Yeah. So Trey Mowgli means 3 wives in Italian.
Oh, so that's the name of the. I thought you were talking about a person.
No, Trey Mowgli.
Trey Mowgli.
Yeah, TREMOGLI.
Okay, is an Italian space that you're opening.
Means
on.
3 wives. Trident restaurant groups. There's 3 of us. This is for the ladies.
Oh, that's cool. And where's this going? This is going on South Main.
401 South Main. So
cool
front facing on Main. It's kind of a cool little setup because the front, if you're looking at the restaurant, Broadway runs right into the restaurant.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have 2 of the original church pews from Broadway Baptist
Oh, really?
that will be the flanking seating for my cocktail lounge in the downstairs.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
So this is like, is this upscale? Is this?
Yeah, very high. Kind of like, so you've been to Carmine's?
No.
In Vegas or New York or Chicago, same type of concept.
Yeah.
High-end family style. That's kind of, I mean, for the lack of a better term, that's the analogy for it.
There's nothing really like that in town, right?
Nothing. Yeah. Wood-burning oven, but no pizza.
Ooh.
There's too many pizza options.
Yeah.
I'm not trying, JJ Arrear's owning the pizza game.
Yeah.
Between Zoli's and Conde Rosso. And then what Black Cat's doing is really cool too behind us. But I take it back, I have 1 pizza. Kids cheese pizza, it's $12. If you have pizza and you're over 12, it's $40. I'm not cannibalizing my dining room for pizza.
Yeah.
What's the timeline on this?
We're looking probably November. It's close.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
We're just waiting for my pizza oven to be delivered. That's all I'm waiting on.
So, I have a couple questions I want to ask. One thing I want to point out, like you were telling the story about not having to walk in because you're giving up before top, and that
Right.
you just rattled off some math. So I had a little stint in the restaurant industry, hired a handful of chefs. I have never had a chef think that way.
You have to.
Well, you should, but I think that's the difference between I cook. I'm a really creative in the kitchen and a business owner. And I would probably argue and guess that I think one of the secrets to your success is that it's not just about the food, but it's also like you gotta make it viable, because if it's not viable, you can't keep feeding people. People can't gather.
So part of that is, I don't know if I call it selfish or whatever that looks like, but I'm always trying to justify my pay rate and my raise, right? And 9 times out of 10, the person that owns the restaurant or is running the restaurant is not food centric. And so they're normally an accountant or a business person of some sort. You have to speak to the numbers. I'm like, I need a raise. Okay, why? Show me how. I'm like, okay, perfect. I've built the business by 18% year over year for the last 3 years, blah, blah, blah. I've only made a 6% increase in payment. You speak all these numbers.
If someone said that to me, I would be like, raise right now.
Yeah, raise. And
right?
also, can you run my business?
Because they have your viability first and foremost in mind. Because if you're making money, I'm making money.
Yeah, if someone's like, I increased the pie.
Right.
I increased it. I saved you money. I made you money.
Exactly. And that's so now when we talk about success, and it's like, to me, success is how many. I've promoted 15 executive chefs out of my kitchen in my career.
Wow.
I take great pride in that because I'm helping someone better their life and break their gap, right? And so as I tell my sous chefs, I'm like, look, I was like, you got to come into me with solutions. If you want to raise, you need to show me that you dropped labor by 2%. You created a bigger gap in cost of goods off earning potential and all these things. I was like, you're no longer a chef. You have to be a business person to do that and move forward.
Do people get that? Do like most people get that?
I think he does now.
Okay.
I mean, when you actually walk people through it and you're like, I'm not giving you a raise because you want a raise. And they're like, you watch them try to like process it. I was like, you need to give me a reason.
So what percentage of your mind, like whenever you walk into the restaurant, is going towards, okay, cost of goods sold, waste, table turnaround time, right? All kind of like these business components. And then like, I feel like you meet a chef and you just want to hear them say, I just love cooking. You know, it's like there's a creative.
I mean, it's 20%.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go.
I mean, passion is huge. Don't get me wrong. Excuse me. But like,
To be successful, you're saying
you
that,
have to have the whole package.
You have to have an 80% business. Like,
I think so. I mean, because it at the end of the day, it's numbers.
yeah.
Have you always liked numbers or been good with numbers?
I'm awful at math.
I just feel like sometimes you go to like a really good restaurant and you're like, dude, this food is absolutely amazing. And then they shut down and you're like, why did they shut down? And I'm in my head, I'm like, well, they don't have that 80%. Like,
Okay. So I'll put this into musician analogies, right? When I go to dinner, I can't just go to dinner.
yeah.
I'm constantly picking it apart.
That's
That's the way it is.
It's going
Because I'm looking at it. I'm like duck confit for $18. They're losing their ass on this. So I'm looking at but like you go into a venue and you're like,
I'm like, that snare's way too loud.
well, yeah, you can hear it. You're like, ah.
Yeah.
But it's same with music. Like my problem with most musicians, this is a blanket stereotype, is just there's so many people I know who are way more talented than I was or we were, who just did not care or think about the business. And it's like,
100%.
you got like, that's
And it's a shame because if they would have had somebody in their corner,
Yeah.
either teaching them or telling them, could have been a completely different outcome.
yeah. Stories with Soul is brought to you by 6th Ave Storytelling, an organic marketing company building standout brands on the foundation of story. We help small businesses grow by crafting and sharing their stories, because when small business thrives, cities and communities prosper. You're obsessed with your business, we want to make the world obsessed with it too. I love the business side. I love the marketing and business side. I was probably not that great of a guitar player, but I loved that component of it and was able to push.
Right.
But I think it's interesting. In my experience in the food industry, I have not met a lot of people who think that way. And I think that's one of the reasons you've been able to do what you do. So I think a lesson there is like, it's 20% food, it's 80%.
I think so. I mean, there's a lot of people that be like, it's 50-50. You have to have the food to even get the business part. I mean, but that number fluctuates as timeline moves, right? So when you open, obviously food is, you're going to look at taking a loss at some point just because of the way it works. But to me, if you don't have the business side in it, and we went 80% business real quick with COVID. So,
Yeah.
so you just had to.
And is it back? Do you feel like things are back?
I think we're about 80%.
Okay.
I think people in Fort Worth are ready. They're tired. They want to get out. They want to have fun. And you see that with everything that's opening now, especially with like the revitalization of the stockyards, like Mule Alley and the Drover, what Sarah and Glenn and Christian are doing at Side Saddle. And then you've got Tim just opened up Second Rodeo. That space looks awesome. And then you got Marcus with Provender Hall, which is really cool. That space is beautiful. Food's awesome. And that's a whole nother thing. He opened Clay Pigeon and I opened Max's Wine Dive 32 days apart.
Wow.
So his father-in-law and my father-in-law played on the same Texas Rangers baseball team.
Oh yeah, we haven't gotten into that.
Yeah.
So who's your father-in-law?
Jim Sundberg,
Who's one of the most famous
catchers
Catchers.
in Rangers history.
Yeah.
And his father-in-law is Jim Kern, the Emu Hall of Fame pitcher.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So my wife is so weird.
So
My
that's
wife-
the solution, right? If you can find a wife that had a dad
who played
and
ball.
played professionally,
Yeah.
Secret to
and you cook, that's it.
So my wife, Marcus, and Emily all went to high school together at Martin
Okay.
in Arlington. But Bree jokes about it. She's like, we're just gluttons for punishment.
Yeah.
My dad played pro ball. My husband's a chef. I don't ever see anybody.
Right, yeah,
Was that
exactly.
intimidating? Like, did you know her dad did that when you first started?
Oh yeah. I was like, all right, this is kind of cool. I was like, interesting. And it's like, I picked her up. She was at her parents' house for something, and I picked her up to take her to dinner. I was like, my phone is dead. I need to charge my phone. Jim's like, yeah, just plug it in over there. I was like, all right, cool. We get to dinner. I'm like, you have got to fix this. And she's like, what? It downloaded his entire Outlook into my phone. I have like Cal Ripken Jr., George Brett. I'm like, fix this, please. I do not need these people's cell phone numbers.
Yes, you do.
I was like,
yes,
this is
you
awesome. So I was a big baseball kid growing up, so it's like, all right, this is cool. It's like, I get to hang out in circles of people. It's crazy. Like, number 43. Like George Bush, I got to cook for him a couple times.
Like at his house?
Yeah, once at his house, or once at Jim's house, once at
Just through
an
Jim.
event. Yeah, through him.
Like,
yeah,
through your
yeah. We were
father-in-law.
okay. So we were at dinner at Eddie V's. I remember weirdest thing. Like Jim, Janet, Bree, and I are all at dinner, and Jim's like, "Oh, hey, check this out. This is cool." Air Force One is calling his cell phone, and I'm like, yeah, "That's not normal." He's like, "Hey, how's it going?" He's like talking to the president, like at dinner.
He just like president's board on the plane.
I guess, yeah, because he was on the Rangers when he played for him.
Oh, that's right. George Bush owned the Rangers.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
So it's like they have this great relationship. So it's like, that's way cool. I'm like, all right, that's awesome. So it's like we were talking earlier. I was like, when you get to cook for a president, there's like a month of background check,
Man.
and it's like, all right, they're like, don't lie about anything, and I'm like, all right, there's a lot of stuff from like right out of high school. Just a heads up. I'm like,
Give me one story. Give me a mistake.
Dumbest thing you did.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
dumbest
that's
thing.
a long list. I used to fight a lot.
Oh yeah.
I used
Really?
to fight
Yeah.
a lot. Yeah, I've been really good for the last like 25 years.
I feel like that's a chef mentality, right? You're just like you're yelling or
Just
fighting. Is that
passionate
like
people,
a
Just passionate people. I was just a
Passionate
dumb kid.
yeah?
Didn't
What-
know any better.
What was the dumbest fight you got into? What was
Oh.
the reason?
I'm sure it was a girl.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
Just stupidity.
Yeah.
Just kind of good. Oh, well, that was probably shouldn't have done that. Yeah.
yeah.
So
That is funny.
fun times.
So cook for presidents.
Yep. I mean,
is
just
wild.
the amount of celebrities, and then I'm part of the Jenkins family. We do a lot of philanthropic stuff with D. Thomas and Michael Paget and all those. I don't know if you know those guys or not. I think we're up to like 600 members now.
What is that? I don't know
The
what that is.
Jenkins. So it's like it's weird. It's like this group of it's a lot of red dirt guys like Randy and Wade and Cody Canada are all part of it, and then a lot of local people too. But Margaret Smith is a big benefactor for that. And so we raise a lot of money for kids. Charity Foundation is one of our big ones that we do.
And so that's why I've always known you've done a lot of stuff at music events and with musicians.
yeah.
And musicians
Part of
at
like through that
restaurants.
is kind of how that's how I got to meet Josh.
Okay.
Because we would do that, and then we'd do picking for preemies and putting for preemies and all that stuff too.
And there's a little bit of like rock and rollness to what you do.
Yeah, I
little
think
bit of-
so. And then it's funny. It's because like athletes want to be musicians, musicians want to be athletes, and chefs it's the same way. You see a lot of chefs that are musicians, like Dean Fearing and those guys. I can't carry a tune in a bucket with two backpack straps. Dude. It's like I know my place.
Yeah.
It's with a knife, not a drumstick.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, but I just love music. I love live music. I love that side of it. And I'm at the point now where I'm kind of a prima donna, and I'm like, oh, I'll go, but I'm gonna need backstage passes. I can't
spoiled.
I can't be crammed out there in sardines.
That's
in the
funny how you are
front.
with like baseball games and stuff too. You're like, I'm not paying for tickets.
Oh no, so that's funny. It's like before we got married. So Jim was like, if you're married and part of the family, I'll get you tickets. But if you're not married, you got to buy your own tickets. So
yeah. So you had
2010,
8 years.
2010, 2011, I bought all my World Series tickets.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So you put,
And then he's
you had
like,
to put a ring on it.
he's like, once you get married, blah 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 blah. I was like, cool. I got married and he retired. I was like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
We joke about it. I mean, he still takes care of a lot of stuff. We still get to go to games, and we live the sweet life. Sometimes it's good.
That's
it's fun.
fun.
I know. It's like we joke. It's like I was like, oh, I'll go, but I'm not sitting with the peasants.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I joke. I love going to baseball games. I mean, it's fun. That new park is beautiful. Any sporting event's cool, but I'm just not. GA concerts is just not for me.
Oh yeah, I'm jaded by that. I can't like music festivals. I'm like, I can't.
No, I can't do it. I'm like,
can't
I'll
do
go, but I want to be
You
over there.
sound so pretentious right now.
It sounds awful, doesn't it?
I was gonna say y'all are drama queens over here.
I don't want to be like,
sure.
do you know who I
Yeah,
am?
yeah, that's right. I own things.
Yeah, but it's like, so now it's like, well, I don't know if I can do it. I was like, I'll do the food.
yeah. There you
I'll
go.
feed the bands and the talent. And they're like, oh yeah, come on. I was
Yeah,
like,
there you
done.
go.
Was there a point with Wishbone doing really really well, or maybe pre-COVID or coming out of COVID, where you're like, man, I've made it. This is what I've wanted. Do you feel like you've made it? Do you feel like this is where I want to be?
I have moments where Kyle and I were doing Saturday night or Friday night. We had Kyle Park at Parker County Ice House, and he rocked it.
We haven't
He
even talked about
killed
Parker
it.
County Ice
Yeah,
House.
he killed it.
Which is your latest restaurant?
The latest restaurant, yeah. It's Ice House, kind of beer bar, but really good food, classical American. But then we also have a full production stage. Amphitheater seats 1,500 people.
Wow.
And we're watching Kyle Park on Friday night. And we're like,
How many people were there?
We're right about 900.
Wow, that's
a good show. It was a good show
of people. So at that point, we were like, "This is my place."
We're kind of like, bro, like this is pretty cool. Like for us to be blessed to be doing the numbers we're doing and having the shows that we've booked. By the way, Ricochet will be there Thursday. We need you to buy tickets.
Yeah, there's plug.
It's like it's cool. It's to be able to have a little bit more financial freedom and not have to worry about like, oh man, I don't know if we can do that or we can afford that. Now it's like there's a lot of stress. There's a lot of stress that comes off of you, you know. And it's like now we know that we've outgrown our house, and so and I know you guys are doing stuff, so we're looking for a new home. So
I know a guy.
I'm sure you do. So I'm not really sure what my wife wants to stay in Arlington. I don't know if I necessarily want to stay in Arlington. I wouldn't mind moving Fort Worth side. At the same time, I really want dirt. I want the unicorn.
There you go.
50
a lot of land in the middle of the city.
75 acres, real close to the city, real cheap.
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist. So we've gone as far as Peaster, and it's still like, you want how much for that?
Yeah.
So I think we'll probably start looking for like a weekender property, a couple hours out, and go from there and have a house here.
There you go, man.
That's exciting. That's a big deal.
That's adulting in its finest form, right?
Yeah, that's like that. I would say that's making it. Whenever you're talking about a weekend home,
so 2 kids, 1,600 square feet. It's a little cramped.
Yeah.
So,
okay. So changing subjects here a little bit. So Jamey just asked you, what you feel like you made it. At what point do you feel like you made it? I feel like that ice house moment, is that one of those moments? When was there a moment, or maybe there's a couple, where it was like, dude, we're not making it. And not only are we not making it, but I just want to be out of here. Was it the Houston experience, or was it a mistake that you made where you're like, I'm done. I'm toast.
I've had a couple of those. When I left, let's see. When I left Brackets, I was kind of on the fence. Even though I got recruited out, I was like, I don't know if this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. It was just a beating. It is very physically taxing.
Just the hours, the amount of hours standing up, moving.
The stooping and bending over and all that. Like my back is wrecked.
Yeah.
I got bad knees. But at the end of the day, it's watching people enjoy what you create. So it kind of makes you happy. Coming back from Houston, that 30 days was like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore.
Yeah. Okay.
You almost threw in the towel.
Yeah, it was real close. And it goes back to my wife being the push. And it's like, no, if you quit now, you'll regret this the rest of your life. And so she was a real instrumentative in me really getting back on the horse, so to speak, and going back to work and really taking that first 2 weeks. I didn't really cook. And then I just started cooking at home, and I was like, all right, cool. I'm back to finding what I want to do and go from there. And then opening a restaurant is hard.
Yeah, man.
Like, especially when you're financially responsible for it, you're just like, oh, there's days where you're just like trying to find investment and like where your clock is ticking down, where you might lose this property or this space and you don't have these things, or you're waiting for this to happen here so that this can happen here. There's a lot of, you have to wait for this for that. And that's probably the most stressful things because it's completely out of your control.
Yeah.
And so timelines with banks and different companies and construction. Don't get me started on construction. It's like a whole nother deal.
Yes. The permits and the timing and the...
Not so much. That's like the price of a 2x4 right now. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's right.
And like, what do you want to do? I was like, I want to frame it with steel because it's cheaper.
Yeah, it almost is.
It's so dumb. I'm like, all right, yeah, this is awesome. I was like, yeah. Like the turnarounds and all of that. And then the overruns. Oh, that's my favorite word.
What is that?
Overruns. So it's like, oh yeah, you're $230,000 overrun on your materials cost.
Oh gosh, yeah.
It's like, yeah, thanks. Or now it's like I'm driving to work, so I drive out to Parker County, and I pass that flatbed. It's got like, I don't know, $1.5 million worth of plywood on it.
Yeah.
Because it's literally, that's what it's worth.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh.
People are now going to hijack
That's
lumber
wild,
trucks.
though, that you're doing these projects that big. I mean, that's
it's awesome.
That's
it's fantastic. Don't get me wrong. I love it. It's stressful as hell, but I love it. And so,
what's the longest you've gone without sleeping in the
restaurant business?
Yeah.
It's probably 2.5 days.
I knew it was going to be 2+.
Yeah.
I knew it was.
Word.
Well, I can tell you which furniture is the most comfortable in the amber room, though.
How many times have you slept in the amber room?
Oh man, since we opened, probably 15.
Wow. Gosh, man.
But
Easy 15.
that's what people were like. I want to own a restaurant. I want to own a bar. That's what it takes.
Yeah,
Like
there's a lot of sacrifice.
There's a lot of
for sure.
100%.
And especially when you're the owner.
Yeah.
So I kind of on subject. Tell me about just your leadership style. I think one of the hardest things about having a business is managing people.
Right.
It's one thing to have I have 2 or 3 employees, but another, now you have a couple concepts. Each one probably has its own culture.
Mm-hmm. Culture is a good word.
How do you shape that culture or create that culture?
You have to breed it from the very beginning.
And what does that mean for you?
Lead from the front. A+.
How do you do that?
I just sent something to my business partner yesterday about it. It's like, not my job is not in my vocabulary. And case in point, last week, he's humping 100 cases of beer and 50 kegs from one spot to another. And I'm doing the same thing with cases of food and showing your team that it's not above my reproach, no matter where I am, to get down and dirty in the trenches with you. Because if I won't do that same job, why would you?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'll scrub toilets and clean the bathrooms. I got no problem with it.
Yeah.
I'll hump the trash out, whatever. And if you show that from the very beginning, your team will walk alongside you the same way.
And do you say that out loud too?
100%.
Yeah.
And it's not even about speaking it out. It's showing
it. Yeah. That kind of servant leadership.
And Kyle is the first person to tell you, he's like, I'll be right there with you, side by side. And that's why we do make great partnership is we kind of joke that we're Dr. Peppers. I was like, Kyle's at a 12 all the time.
Yeah.
I'm at a 6 and Wally's at a 2.
Okay.
So it's like, that's how we operate and we all feed off each other very well. And it's great when Kyle starts talking because he's like, you don't mistake my passion for anger. I'm very passionate about what I do and I expect the same passion out of people. And it took me about a year to really understand how he operates because I would be like, dude, you're wearing me out. I can't deal with you right now. Now it's like, okay, I know how he works, how he knows how I work, and how we fit into the project together.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a great partnership because we all bring something to the table that those others don't. So it's all about surround yourself with people that are better at things that you weren't. Mm-hmm. And it all comes together. It's about finding your people, right?
That goes back to your original.
Don't find your purpose, find your people.
That's the overall theme for today.
Yeah, 100%.
What about? I think one of the things I've always been impressed with or a fan of, even back in the day at Max's, was just consistency, executing service at a very high level. What does it take to hold people accountable to do that?
It's holding yourself accountable. It kind of goes back to that same process, right? So it's like I've traveled the country eating food. I mean, you're a musician. You traveled everywhere eating. The thing I don't understand is 75% of the chefs in this business are 100% okay delivering 75% quality product. It makes no sense. If my name's attached to it, I want you to know that I put my heart and soul and the best possible thing on the plate I could. But I don't understand. That's integrity. You should live life. You should live life that way, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what am I teaching my kids if I'm half-assing everything?
Yeah, but what do you do whenever you got a sous chef or a line chef? Somebody that's like they're not cutting it.
Yeah,
they're not living up to that standard. Like they're not living up to that standard. I get it. Like
there's a lot of trust.
You breed them. You breed that into them, and you bring that culture. Once you have it, it's there. But occasionally, you're going to get people that aren't.
And it is. That's just nature of the business. It is what it is. You have to be able to recognize it quickly, and how to react differently. So I've worked with people that are like, you can't treat people differently. I'm like, that's bullshit, right? Because I know if I yell at this kid, he's going to shut down and I'm not going to get anything out of him.
Yep.
But if I pamper this dude over here, he's just going to get lazier.
Yep.
So you have to be able to read people and how people respond 100%. So it's like, I know, like, at Max's because open kitchen. I love the open kitchen concept. I want people to see it. And I'm lighting this kid up because he didn't put a half chicken in the pan when he should have. He waited like 15 minutes. So that turns that ticket into 25 minutes into 45 minutes. And this lady behind me was like, I want to know where my food is. I was like, well, let me find out. And I'm just lighting this kid up. And she's like, you don't have to be a dick to him. I was like, you want your food, but you don't want to know how it gets here. And so I get this Yelp review. It's like, the chef was very Ramsay-esque. I was like, oh, here it goes. Here it goes. I was like, it would have been way worse if there was a wall here. Okay, just a heads up.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm like, you get what you get. And I like the open kitchen because it's dinner and a show.
Yeah.
And I'm very loud. I'm very prominent in the restaurant because I expect high demands from people. And we have this saying at Trident. It's like, you get 100% of my money. I get 100% of your time.
Yep. Because you're setting the tone. Like, you can demand that because you're giving all of that.
That's a Kyleism.
Yeah.
That's a Kyleism. We're having T-shirts made.
Yeah.
But he's right. I mean, we give him hell about it all the time, but he's 100% right. If I'm paying you and you expect your paycheck at a certain time, I expect results from you due to your position.
Wait, say that line one more time.
I get 100%. You get 100% of my money. I expect 100% of your time.
That's good. That's good.
Oh, I got a bunch of them. They're great.
Give me some more. Give me some more of those. I love it.
Domino's.
What does that mean?
Your pizza's okay, but your delivery sucks. Because of the way people talk to people.
Yeah.
Right? So there's that one. There's what was the one you said? There's one for the other day. I don't remember. I'll figure it out here in a minute.
Yeah.
No, that wasn't it. It was something about cadence. I don't remember what it was, but it was awesome.
Do y'all as a team or as a restaurant or group of restaurants, do y'all have core values or like?
Yeah, it's I mean, integrity, number one, first and foremost. The whole not my job, not my vocabulary. And everything has to have purpose.
What does that mean?
Why don't spin your wheels for no reason. So it's like you need to always work with purpose, and there needs to be an end game for why you're doing it. Because if you're just doing it to do it, what's the point? Because if you're just doing it to do it, you're probably doing it half-assed anyways. And so it's that whole like do it like no one's watching. And so all comes down to integrity and how we make that work and how we come together as a whole to deliver the best thing to the guest that's possible. My biggest thing is that no matter how much money you're spending, you should get the same value. When I was 22, I took a girl on a date to the mansion on Turtle Creek, and I had $345 in my pocket cash, nothing in my bank account. Wow. Praying she didn't order the lobster. Right?
That's the most expensive place in Dallas.
100%. 100%.
This
I really wanted to take this girl and show her out, right?
Okay.
And so I've got a $50 bottle of wine on the table. The guy next to me is drinking a $5,000 Bordeaux.
Whoa.
Stupid amount of money, whatever. Dean Fearing makes his round through the dining room, treats me the exact same as that guy.
He came to your table?
100%.
Wow, that's cool.
And that has resonated with me since that day because it's not about how much money you have. It's about me thanking you for spending your hard-earned money in my establishment. And so you'll see me. It's like I'm touching tables all the time, thanking people for being in there. And Kyle and Wally get on me because they're like, "You're not in the restaurant enough." I'm like, "Well, we got 3 other things I'm working on. Like, you get me there all the time." He's like,
"People all the restaurants.
People expect to see you." I was like, "Well, let me clone myself real quick and get this done."
But it is kind of the magic. Like
100%.
I've been there and I've seen you do it, and you're going around to the tables. You stop by our table. I'm like, "What should I get?"
Yeah.
Like, get the PB&J wings.
You have to. You have to. It's like, you've been here before? No. All right. This is what you have to get. First and foremost. You can come back and get the other stuff later.
That's the magic, I think.
Right. And it's about like if you're on a date with somebody and you're trying to show out and the chef comes by your table and spends time to talk to you, come on, man.
You feel good.
Yeah. That's awesome.
It's crazy. So it's like but it should be. And unfortunately, in our business, we do have a lot of introverts that will not come out. But I think it's getting better. I think people are realizing that you have to have that interaction with your guests.
And treating everybody the same. That's a great principle.
Yeah, 100%.
Anything else you've learned? If you could go back to your younger self starting out, what would you?
Young chef.
The Houston trip for sure. It's about listening to your people. A lot of us cook what we want to cook, but we don't listen to people Like, case in point. So I did a half roasted chicken and I did this like roasted beet risotto. People don't eat beets, but it looked really pretty. And I was like, this is a badass dish. And I sold like 7. I was like, damn it. And my boss at the time was like, you should probably go back to the wild mushroom risotto, not the beet. And I was like, yeah, whatever. He's like, seriously. He's like, run it for a week and then let me know what happened. And I sold 74.
Oh my gosh.
Once you switched it.
And I was like, damn it, he's right.
Yeah.
So it's like now, it's like, if you just listen to people, it's amazing what can happen.
Yeah.
And that goes to marriage too. It's like, if you're not so stubborn, you
So
take a
caught up
minute
on
and
yourself.
listen. Yeah, you take a minute and it's not, you take the narcissism out of it or whatever you want to call it. You're like, this isn't about just me now.
Yeah.
It's about 3 other people I'm responsible for. You listen to them, you can make things happen. And that's staff included. Like my staff knows that if they have an idea, they can always bring it to us and we will entertain it regardless of what it is. It's not like I'm not going to blow you off. I'm like, all right, it's that same thing. It's like they bring it to the table and you're like, all right, well, why? Okay, well, I had this guest here that did this and they've seen it done this way. And I'm like, all right, well, let's try it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. We'll go from somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I think that speaks to why we have staff that stays because
They feel empowered or
100%, 100%.
Yeah.
Like
That's cool.
they have ownership in something and we don't take credit for other people's ideas
Yeah. I like that.
because it's not my place to take credit for that. People are like, this dish is great, man. Your new menu is awesome. I was like, I didn't have any input on the new menu. That's my chef de cuisine and my sous chef, 100%. And they're like, I've never heard a chef speak like
That's
that.
some humility.
100%. But I'm only as good as the people that work for me. Because if I didn't have them, where would I be? Right? So it's like, I had this conversation with Michael Crane the other day. I was like, it's all about people, dude. It's like, if you don't give people the ability and the trust and the willingness to do what they want to do and be good at it, then they're stifled and they're going to go somewhere else. So if you have a bartender that has 3 drinks on the menu that are his or hers, yeah, they're going to be super happy
They're
at
going to be
work.
excited to
They're not going to be late. They're going to be on time. They're going to do their job. And they know that there's someplace for them higher in the company later in life as we grow because they see how we operate and how we move forward and go from there. It's like Parker County Ice House. Like I had a kid, this kid Jace, was working at a place in Weatherford and was literally killing him because he's standing over a mesquite grill, inhaling all this smoke. It was literally killing him. And he came to work for us and I was like, look, dude, I was like, you need to go home. And he's like, why? I was like, you look spent. And he's like, well, I have 4 more hours on my shift. I was like, I'll work your shift. Go home.
Wow.
Yeah.
Get some rest. And he's
That's
like,
cool.
I've never had a boss that ever looked out for me. His wife had her wisdom teeth pulled and I called him. And I was like, hey, how's Joy doing? He's like, are you seriously calling me to check on my wife? I was like, yeah, dude. I was like, you're my employee. I was like, I have like passion. I have value in you.
Yeah.
I want to know you're okay. And he's like, I've never had a boss ever like call and check up on us. And I'm like, this is how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's lost in our business. It's about people. And if you're not taking
And
care
if
of your
you're the
people,
top, you're the protector.
100%. I'm responsible for all these people, right? So it's like, if I go out of business, you have no job.
Yeah. Man.
And so
That's good.
It's crazy. It's fun times.
I got a few rapid questions.
Yeah.
Before we finish out. Okay. Worst injury in the.
He's got
You ever
two-
cut a finger? I saw,
Yeah,
I saw
see
2
my
Band-Aids.
Band-Aids, yeah.
Band-Aids.
I was like, worst injury.
You were cut like almost.
Well, this one's pretty bad. I tried to rip the fingernail off. I smashed it between 2 kegs.
Okay.
And it was like, as soon as I did it, like your whole hand went numb. And you're like, oh, that's bad.
You don't want
That's
to look
real
down.
bad. Yeah.
man.
Duct tape and super glue makes the world go around.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's probably that one or I slipped on not restaurant related.
No. Well, yeah, sure. Let's do it.
I slipped on a Lego like a month and a half ago at the house. Completely
It's a kid injury.
Completely dislocated my hip.
No,
It was like the worst thing ever.
Oh
and I
my-
broke a rib on the way down. It was miserable. I just laid on the ground crying. And my wife's like, get up. Stop being a little girl. I was like, I dislocated my hip.
You need the
The life alert.
Life
That was
alerts,
awful.
yeah.
Yes.
It's like Home Alone. They like
Yeah.
put the
I know,
Legos
and everybody's
out.
like, you need a better story than that.
dude. That is
like,
hysterical. Slip
kids,
on a
man,
Lego,
kids.
dude.
I can relate to that.
Kids, it is what it is.
All right, worst dish you've ever made that you like regret. You're like, I cannot believe I put that on a menu.
Normally it doesn't even make it to the menu, which is good. I have enough eyes that look at it.
Okay. Well, you can give one of those then.
I did. What did we do? I did a curry dish once that was just awful. I thought, I was like, man, this is gonna be so good, so good. And it was like, no.
Yeah.
No matter what I did to it, it just got worse.
Yeah.
I was like, no, scrap it. I was like, we're not selling this anymore. It's like one of those menus that's got like the Sharpie through it.
Yeah.
You feel awful when you have to do that to a menu, and you're just like, I can't
Kill
sell
it.
I can't
Kill
sell it. Yep, it's dead.
Best dish that never sold. Was it the beef
Half
dish?
chicken with the roasted beef risotto?
Yep.
Yeah.
The best dish is like tastes amazing.
Sweetbreads at Max's.
I remember.
Because they're the best chicken nuggets you'll ever have.
Yeah. Yeah.
And people just couldn't get past
They
it.
couldn't get past it. Yeah. Gosh, man. Okay.
That and the beef tongue cheesesteak. I
Oh,
did a
is it amazing?
64-day dry aged beef tongue cheesesteak.
Wow.
It was
Gosh.
phenomenal.
That
People were
sounds
like,
awesome.
I'm not
They
eating
can't. They can't.
I'm not eating it.
My dad likes sweetbreads. I remember
Yeah.
we got those. We ordered
They're
those.
so good.
Yeah.
I like chicken nuggets.
Yeah.
I would 100% not be surprised if somewhere down the line McDonald's comes out and like, we've been serving you sweetbreads all along.
You just didn't know
That
it. Probably is the case.
You know, yeah, exactly. You're
Gosh,
like,
man. Gosh. Okay. And then what's next? Well, tell us what's.
All right,
what's,
so we
you
have
got.
Wishbone and Flynt, Amber Room, Parker County just opened. Trey Mowgli will open in November. We're working on an incubator project, non-chef side. So pardon me. Dalworthington Gardens, South Arlington, Pleasant Ridge, and Bowen. We're working on a project. It's 6 to 8 shipping containers. This is kind of our give back project. We'll just be the landlord, flat rate rent, and really just give people the option to break their generational gap. Whether you have trying to start a food truck or something like that, and you need to get bigger and grow and have branding, you can come in here, get it started, get it going. And if you outgrow that, we're working on a second project with the city, which will be more of a brick and mortar, larger scale project of that to move you into like into an actual storefront.
So the idea is it's like these are kind of micro spaces.
Yes,
So
yeah.
the rent is cheap.
Yeah,
It's a great place to start
It's like
out.
an 8 by, I think they're 8 by 40 shipping container.
And it has a commercial kitchen, I guess. Like,
We'll white box it, and then it'll have all the utilities run, and you just set your own stuff. One container will be a bar, one container will be the restrooms, and then probably 6.
so kind of like it'll be like a little food.
Like a little miniature Trinity Groves.
That's
and then,
cool.
Like common ground area to eat and
Man.
sit and go from there. So
I feel like that should be on a TV series.
be
You know what I
fun.
mean? Just film it, and top person gets the brick and mortar at the end, kind of
right,
thing. You know?
yeah.
Most popular.
I don't chef TV, man.
Have you ever been on chef?
I've been on
show?
a bunch of stuff on TV, Travel Channel, Cooking Channel, stuff like that. Everybody asked me if I would do
Chopped.
I might do
Top
do
Chef?
Chopped.
Oh,
I probably
yeah.
wouldn't do top Chef.
Okay.
Mostly because you're gone for 2 months.
Oh gosh.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
yeah.
and I like being in the business, and I don't want to
Yeah.
leave that. Funny stories like when they did the Dallas one, Kevin Martinez and I auditioned together.
Oh wow.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so, like, I mean, Kevin Martinez is bigger than life, too. So it's like, I've got the Mohawk, you got Kevin Martinez, and they're like, y'all are too much.
Oh, they said that?
Yeah. And I was like, man, that, and I'm like, I'm awful at answering questions in complete sentences. And that's how they want you to answer because you're always on camera. And so they're like, oh, when I was a kid, I wanted to do this. I'm like, I'm awful at that. I'm like, I'm off the cuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. I just,
All right. Well, no cooking shows, but maybe Chopped.
yeah, maybe Chop.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
Yeah.
So the Arlington incubator.
Yeah.
And then you.
And then, so side project, not Trident. My business partners, Kyle Bryson and Will also have a company called Two Crazy Fellas. So they do a bunch of weird stuff. They got like racehorses, tour buses.
Oh, really?
I think y'all actually took one of their tour buses once.
Maybe.
And then we just took over the old shipping and receiving. And so I'm just kind of a silent hand on that. And then we bought Leon Bridges' piano that was in there. So we left it in the space.
Dude.
So like 2 days after we signed paperwork on it, he recorded his last music video in that space.
Oh, no
it's just him, a bar stool, a guitar, and a fog machine.
Oh wow.
Coolest thing ever.
Wow. And so you're reactivating that bar.
Yeah, we're gonna call it distribution bar. It's a little bit more elevated in seating kind of style, but we'll still have the same type of setup.
And are you overseeing
No,
programming?
there's no food, nothing like that. I'm silent. I could just kind of hang out, and I miss that bar. I love that bar.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so much fun. But they
And that's like your back door. I mean, that's like right down the
100%.
street from you.
They pulled that beautiful walnut bar out. So
wow.
we
The
have
antique
to
bar.
build. Yeah, we have to build a new bar. So,
Wow.
but it'll be fun. the people that bought that building from Eddie are keeping the event space that's back there where the studio is. And then they'll do weddings and stuff in the yard where the stage is. But then we can utilize it for live shows
That'll be
in the meantime. But I think we're going to do it more like up and coming local, not as much like national stuff. I think we've got enough venues for that otherwise.
Yeah.
It'd be good. Wait, Michael Rooker was in Amber Room yesterday for an interview.
Really?
Yeah, Yondu. I was like, that's so cool.
Wow.
Yeah, and then you know Jessie England, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so she's out on a patio because she books all the music for Sunday brunch. So he's like, hey, you mind showing me around Fort Worth, blah, blah, blah. So she got to be Michael Rooker's tour guide for Fort Worth yesterday.
And why was he here?
Lee, what's his last name? He's in that same building as our offices, but Fort Worth Camera. But he does, he was doing an interview with him in Amber Room.
That's
him cool. And somebody else. I don't remember who else it was, but super cool. Off subject, sorry.
Well, that's a lot of
a
lot of irons in the fire.
Of stuff. We're busy people.
That's exciting, man.
Yeah.
Super exciting for you. Well, thanks. So if people want to learn more, where should they go?
TridentRestaurantGroup.com, or if you go to wishboneandflynt.com, scroll to the bottom and subscribe to the newsletter. Okay. That kind of gets you everything that we're doing in the future and all the live music stuff and wine dinners and all that fun stuff.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on. This is awesome.
I appreciate it. Thank y'all for having me.
Well, guys,
you got to shut me up sometimes. I'm
No, this is
squirrely.
good.
Squirrely.
This is
I ramble
good.
a lot.
This is real. I mean,
really
I'm blown away at the amount of stuff you have done or doing. I mean,
Yeah, blessed. That's like I said. I use that word a lot, but it's true.
Yeah,
So-
I think it's you just favor. I think blessed is good. I mean, you've
100%.
done stuff and
give all the glory, man. That's all it is.
that's so
cool.
cool. That's cool. Well, thank you for joining us. If you like what you hear, comment, leave a message, like it, share it. Thank you for listening to Stories with Soul. Congratulations, you made it all the way to the end. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Stories with Soul. If you enjoyed the interview and like what you heard, please help us out and share, subscribe, and like anywhere you listen to podcasts. When you share and subscribe, it is insanely helpful and allows us to keep producing new episodes. You can always join us directly in the studio by watching the video version on our website, 6thAveStorytelling.com. Stories with Soul is brought to you by 6th Ave Storytelling, an organic marketing company building standout brands on the foundation of story. You're obsessed with your business, and we want to make the world obsessed with it too. Thanks for listening.